What's up, y'all? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. I'm happy to have you here. So there is a message for today. I'm so excited to share. What we are talking about today is when it feels like God has forgotten about you. I just want to tell somebody today who needs to hear it that God has not forgotten about you and he has not forgotten about your situation. And we're going to be in the Bible today, so get ready. But basically, I just kind of wanted to talk about how sometimes it feels like maybe God is distracted and focused on somebody else and not really focused on us. And the other day I was on my way to work and I was praying, and I don't entirely remember what I was even praying about. It was something along the lines of me saying, Lord, don't forget about me, or Lord, don't forget about this situation. And as I was praying it was literally, this message was just downloading in my spirit. So I was like, oh yeah, I have to share, because I had never really thought about this particular story in this way. We are going to be talking out of Luke chapter 8 verses 40 through 56. A little bit of a lengthy text, but I'm going to read it, so just bear with me. I'm reading out of the New King James Version. It says, "So it was, when Jesus returned, that the multitude welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him. And behold, there came a man named Jairus." I think that's how you pronounce his name. That's how we're going to say it. Anyways. "And he was a ruler of the synagogue. And he fell down at Jesus' feet and begged him to come to his house. For he had an only daughter about 12 years of age, and she was dying. But as he went, the multitudes thronged him. Now a woman having a flow of blood for 12 years, who had spent all her livelihood on physicians and could not be healed by any, came from behind and touched the border of his garment. And immediately her flow of blood stopped. And Jesus said, 'Who touched me?' When all denied it, Peter and those with him said, 'Master, the multitudes throng and press you, and you say, Who touched me?' But Jesus said, 'Somebody touched me, for I perceived power going out from me.' Now when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling, and falling down before him, she declared to him in the presence of all the people the reason she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. And he said to her, 'Daughter, be of good cheer, your faith has made you well. Go in peace.' While he was still speaking, someone came from the ruler of the synagogue's house, saying to him, 'Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher.' But when Jesus heard it, he answered him, saying, 'Do not be afraid, only believe, and she will be made well.' When he came into the house, he permitted no one to go in except Peter, James, and John, and the father and mother of the girl. Now all wept and mourned for her, but he said, 'Do not weep, she is not dead, but sleeping.' And they ridiculed him, knowing that she was dead. But he put them all outside, took her by the hand, and called, saying, 'Little girl, arise.' Then her spirit returned, and she arose immediately. And he commanded that she be given something to eat. And her parents were astonished, but he charged them to tell no one what had happened." Okay, there is actually a lot to unpack here. Listen, I love that story so much, and I think most of the times that I've heard it preached or talked about, they've been focusing on the woman with the issue of blood, which her story is a powerful one by itself, because it shows us a woman who was in a vulnerable position for 12 years, going to physicians who couldn't heal her, and she decided that if I could just touch the clothing that Jesus is wearing, I would be made well. I would be healed of what I've been dealing with for 12 years. She had such a crazy faith that is beautiful to witness and so powerful to learn from, because we can see that if we could just touch something that is touching Jesus, we could be made whole, and we could be healed, and we could be free. We could be set free of the things that we're struggling with. And while, yes, that is a beautiful story, that's not the one that I want to focus on today. I want to specifically focus on Jairus. A couple of days ago when I was thinking about all of this, and this message was coming to me, I was like, you know what? I've never really thought about him in this particular story. I've never focused on his story. I've only focused on the woman with the issue of blood. But for this particular video and for this message, I just want us to both put ourselves in Jairus' shoes. So the beginning of this text starts with a multitude welcoming Jesus, and then it immediately tells us that a man named Jairus comes before Jesus, falls at his feet, and begs him to come back to his house and heal his only daughter because she's dying. He did not care about who was watching. He didn't care about the audience around. There was a whole bunch of people, but yet he said, "I am desperate enough to throw myself at your feet and beg for you to come and heal my daughter because my only child is dying. So please come back and help my dying situation back home." And then it says that Jesus was making his way. As he went, the multitude is still all going crazy, but then also now you have this woman who comes, and even though she wasn't trying to cause a scene, she wasn't trying to create any commotion, she was trying to actually get out unseen and completely undetected. She was just trying to get her blessing and go. But in doing so, it stopped Jesus in his tracks to say, who touched me? He was kind of more so the one who caused the scene. And instead of just going on about his business and heading on to Jairus' house to help, which is what he was intending to do originally, he ended up stopping and focusing on somebody else. So I can only imagine how Jairus was feeling in that moment. Feeling like, okay, here I am. I'm desperate for a healing back home. I'm desperate for Jesus to work on my situation. And it looks like he's about to do it. But then all of a sudden, everything around him seems to be more important in that moment, because he just stopped what he was doing and now is focusing on somebody else and their need. He was probably thinking about all of the time that was now being wasted or lost on somebody else's situation, knowing that his child was back at home on her deathbed. And so can you just imagine feeling like, okay, Jesus is about to move on my situation, but all of a sudden somebody else seems more important. Somebody else's need is more important in this moment. He's focused on somebody else. Jesus has now gotten distracted. God is no longer focused on me, but he's focused on somebody else. And I think that resonated with me so much, because sometimes, honestly, that's how I'll feel. It's like I'm praying for God to do something, but I don't feel like there's anything happening in that specific situation. I don't feel like God is moving in a certain situation in my life. But then I look around and I see all of these other people who are being blessed, and I see posts on social media about people receiving blessings in one area of their lives, and I'm still waiting for God to move in a certain area of my life. If we're being honest, it just brought me right to this text, and I was like, this is so beautiful, because at the end of the day, we're able to fast forward and we can just read the text. And I know that Jairus was probably very, like, distraught and frustrated and potentially irritated in that moment. I mean, this is just going off of guesses about how I would be feeling. I would be like, really? Come on now, we gotta go. We don't have all this time. In that moment, I would be thinking about my situation. My child is at home on her deathbed. I need you to come and help me, and you over here entertaining and focusing on other people. I need you right now. And to feel like his attention was now turned to somebody else, he probably felt rejected. He probably felt forgotten about. He probably felt like he wasn't as important as somebody else, because Jesus stopped focusing on him. In his situation, he stopped his journey for somebody else. But as you read more, yes, the woman with the issue of blood, she got her healing, and we got a lesson from that particular situation. But we also got a lesson from Jairus and his situation, because then as they were continuing to journey on their way, somebody from his house came back and said, you don't have to bother the teacher anymore. Your daughter is already dead. And so in a situation where you feel like maybe there's something in your life that feels dead, you feel like you prayed about and God didn't move on your situation, and now you feel like it's too late. Oh, well, I'm not going to bother him anymore. I'm not going to pray about it anymore. I'm not going to ask him to move on it anymore because it's too late. Let this be your reminder that it is not too late. And God can still move on a situation even when it seems like it is too late. Even when the situation seems dead. Even when it seems like you can't revive the situation anymore. God can still do it. And God can do so in a way that other people get blessed. Other people get a message out of it. I mean, listen, I wasn't even there, and this is helping and blessing me. The delay was not the denial. And even that delay, there was power in that delay, because there was still so much that God was able to do. And so in a situation that went from dying to dead, God was still able to revive that. Jesus was able to go in there and say, she's not dead, she's just sleeping. I can wake her up. Little girl, arise. All it took was a touch and a word from Jesus, and that girl was able, her spirit returned to her. So just because it seems like God might have forgotten about you or about your situation, it seemed like he was about to do something, but then somebody else got blessed and said, somebody else, he started focusing on somebody else, it might look like. Don't think that he's forgotten about you or your situation, because he's still on the way to your situation. And when he gets there, he can revive whatever it is that you think is no longer there. He can revive what you think is dead. He can revive whatever your situation is that you feel like there's no more hope there. He can turn it around, okay? He can speak life over it. He can, one touch, one word from God, and your whole situation can turn around. And I just want somebody to take away the fact that just because you see God out here blessing and rewarding and healing other people does not mean that he has forgotten about you. Just because it seems like your situation, all hope is lost, or it's too late, or it's a dead situation, it might just be sleeping. All it's going to take is a touch or a word from God to wake that situation right back on up. And don't think that he's not going to do it just because somebody else got a blessing before your blessing came around. Don't think that he has forgotten about you, even if he was on the way and somebody else seemed to get in the way and it seemed to be a distraction in that moment, he is still going to remember your situation. So if you don't take nothing else from this video, just take away the fact that God has not forgotten about you. Even if it seems like he's distracted blessing other people, you sitting there waiting on prayers that you prayed a long time ago or however long ago, and you're seeing other people around you being blessed, don't think that that means that your blessing is not coming. Don't think that that means that your prayer is not going to be answered. It might not be answered at the time that you want it, but there is always a reason for the delay. God's delay is not his denial. There is always a reason for everything that God does. So even if he delays to bless you in the way that you intended to be blessed, or you want it to be blessed, just because there is a delay does not mean that God is not on the way. He could still be heading to your situation. Just keep on believing that God is going to show up for you, because even though it might seem like your situation is dying, you have no clue what God has in store for you. You have no clue what type of restoration power that he has over you and over your situation. So even though it sometimes feels like God has forgotten about you, I can promise you he has not. Alrighty, y'all, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.